Let's go back. And already welcome to our friends on YouTube. And we'll get ready to go on our Facebook here any second now. And we are ready. All right, we're on. And welcome to the Windows Dr. Cook Show with the Medical Hour here with Dr. Curtis Clark. And it is Wednesday, the 4th of October in the year of Lord 2017. Dr. Show here with you and hoping you're having a great day. We just had a nice talk with Eric Wilson in the Watch. And now it's time for the Watcher to the Healer. Dr. Curtis.
We treat, and God heals.
I love that.
We're part of the healing arts.
That's definitely, I like that. I like the way that's said on that. Well, we're going to, we have a little bit of abbreviated show today, but we're going to talk a little bit about something that is, I think, I'll have to ask you. I know it used to be, but let's see if it still is. I'm trying to get this camera right here. There we go. It used to be, and I think it still is if it's not the number one killer, it's got to be in the top 2 or 3 from heart disease.
Cardiovascular disease is number 1, and that's not including stroke. Stroke is down, but cardiovascular disease, which includes heart disease, is the number 1 killer in the United States of America for men and women.
Wow. And, it's interesting is that... excuse me, right? I had to get a quick mouth dry there. I think one of the interesting things about it is there's so much misinformation and myths and people that don't, I'll just jump in there right on one. Well, that guy over there, he's skinny. He runs 5 miles a day. He doesn't have an ounce of fat on him. He eats lintenol and rice cakes. And there's no way that he'll ever have heart disease or could have a heart attack. True or false?
Yeah, that's false. But I can tell you what it's based on. And I encourage anyone interested to look at the history behind this. And that's the Framingham study. Which is ongoing since like 1950s, I think. Maybe even the late 40s. And they took a town, Framingham, Massachusetts. And they said, let's find out why people die of heart attacks or heart disease. Let's follow them. And they have followed these people in this town for decades now, including through their adult years until they die, and then their children too. And that's the Framingham study. And the Framingham study basically gave us our classic risk factors: sedentary, obesity, high-fat diet, smoking, and it told us, okay, they're the people who we can identify as risk factors for heart attack. What we're finding out is, though, that's only part of the story, right? Where what we're finding out is your genetics and your family history play a significant role. So, right, like you said, the person who does not meet any of that criteria can still be in the hospital with a heart attack. And where does that leave the average person to think about it?
Absolutely, and of course, I met a lot of that criteria. But of course, in my family, I'm in both of them. I guess I'm the highest the risk there can be because I was in both of those categories, and I have had a heart attack, and I have had a triple bypass and 2 stents put in, and I'm currently a heart patient right now, and under treatment for that, lots of medication. And my father died I'm 55 years old. My father died at 55 of arteriosclerosis, coronary thrombosis, massive heart attack. My grandfather, his father died at 69 of arteriosclerosis, coronary thrombosis. His mother had heart disease starting early in her relatively early in life, in her mid-40s. Matter of fact, bless her heart, we told her that she was dying of the same heart attack for 30 years. She ended up dying in her late 80s. Just her heart was so weak it just gave out. And then I've got,
So from the time you were 30 years old, you had cardiovascular disease.
Yes.
And since that time, you have not been cured 1 ounce.
No.
Okay, you will have it till the day you die, and all we can do is treat it. And you're a good example of someone who's been successfully treated, but you're still on medications. This is still a constant thing in your life.
Yes.
There is no cure for this yet, and until we can manipulate genetics to reverse the changes that happen in those arteries. This is just a disease that can be treated and managed.
And you know, with that said too, you know, I have I want to give a couple things out there. There are a lot of people. Matter of fact, I think there's just an incredible amount of people. Matter of fact, I'm going to go one step further. I doubt there is very few people who don't either directly in their immediate family or have in their extended family or a friend, close friend, or somebody that they work with, somebody that has not had heart. You know, we hear it constantly.
Right. Number one killer.
We hear it constantly.
We all know it. We all see people that we love.
I'll tell you a couple things. It's frightening. It's very frightening. It was frightening when I had a heart attack. It was frightening when I had open heart surgery. It's frightening right now. And and I'd like to kind of tell a couple of people out there, because maybe this will help a few people, because it helps me to talk about it, and I think maybe it would help a few people out there that maybe they're listening. I hope they're listening. We reached about 1,400 people last week. Then it's, first of all, it's okay to be frightened by it, but how do I get? People ask me how do I get around that? I've got 4 children, 7 grandchildren. I tend to. Pat will tell you that I call it the Coley curse, because I never knew my grandfather. Never met him. He died before I was born. My children were under the age of 5 when their grandfather, my mother, died, and all of my grandchildren are under the age of 7 right now. So, and then actually even my great grandfather died at 57. So we've had this what we call the Coley curse, that grandfathers never get to see their grandkids grow old, or grow old with their grandkids. But I can tell you a couple things, and we'll get into this also, the spiritual side of this, is that I think there's a thin line talking as a Christian to another Christian, or a Roman Catholic to another Roman Catholic, that we happen to be, is that I think there's a thin line out there of irresponsible behavior, and choosing to live in denial. That's the psychologist that comes out of me. But then there's also where we have to venture into our faith. And I think I ask myself almost every day. I don't ask myself. I have to remind myself every day that if we believe in our Creator, we have faith in God. We will die when we die, and I don't think God decides that. I don't think God says, you will die at 65, or you all will do this. Or, I kind of like it one time. I heard somebody ask one time. I think it was a sister. Back when I was in parochial school, somebody said, "Do we have free will, or is it everything? Is everything decided by destiny?" And you know what she said? She said, "Well, you have both." And it says God has a plan for everybody, but it's your choice of whether or not you move towards that plan or away from that plan.
I think that's well put. That's exactly.
And that's what that gift of free will that God gave us. God wants us to have a plan, but we do that.
Right, you can contribute to your own demise, and I agree. Like, because I get asked this a lot. Cancer patients, heart patients. How long do I have? Or, is she dying? Is he dying? And I talk about the medical sides of it first. You got to be a good doctor. I got to be a good doctor and treat. But then I do like to ask folks, about their religious beliefs and their faith, and most of the time these are Christian people. So I explain, look, all life is in the hands of God the Father in heaven. All life is created by Him, and all life is taken by Him. But most Christians, not all, believe in free will, and that we can do things that can interfere and choose not to follow God's plan. And a healthy lifestyle is one of those things that you can contribute to your own early demise.
And I think, and Doc, I say this kind of in a half facetious, half truth way. I bet you there's nothing you like more than being proven wrong. And when you, in other words, in the sense when you say that the stats say, Joe, you're going to die in the next year, and I go, you know what, I'm going to prove you wrong on that. And 5 years later, you know, I go, you love getting proved wrong in that way, don't you?
Right, that's a good way to put it. Right, we like to think we know stuff. We're the doctor, and we know things. We tell people you got 2 years to live, and then we hear it. You see it on TV when there's people. That doctor didn't know what he was talking about. She lived another 8 years or 10 years. We secretly we love being wrong in those situations, right?
I think as a Christian too, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of this, and I think you are too. Probably a lot of you people out there is. I was figuratively, not literally, figuratively talking to myself the other day, and I thought, we about prayer, we all have no problem. At least I don't have any problem believing in our omnipotent Creator, and that we know from Scripture all things are possible. That God can do anything, right? But the question is we talk about. Do you pray? Do you ask God? I mean, it's like, oh, I'm gonna die tomorrow. And I just there's nothing. Did you pray? Did you say a prayer to God? Say, God, I have more things I need to do on earth. Please let me. Can you help me? And people tend to say, they say, actually, I didn't. They wait till that. We all tend to wait to that last moment when we're lying there in hospice or whatever. We've got, hours to live. That's when we're praying hard, on that.
Yeah.
And that goes with that. But I can tell you too now. I also have diabetes, and I can tell you that I've said this before on the show. I kicked that one. I'll have it the rest of my life. But to this date, right now, and I can take a little thing on here. I brought my blood sugar down to outstanding levels, and I check it every day, and it still is. I'm very proud of that. And I can tell you that I also am a believer that you are, and this is a little bit esoteric maybe, but I believe that you are as good as you feel. And I believe that, and this is the psychologist in me coming out, that I know that I am very susceptible to, I call it, classic conditioning or Pavlovian suggestions. That if you walk around saying, I'm going to die today. Well, let me ask you this. Let's deal with a person here that deals with death on a regular basis. On that. Have you found? Let me just ask you a very simple question. Have you found a correlation between people that are fighters and people who give up?
Yes, but it's not so cut and dry. There are people who they have fight in them. They want to do the right things. They pray for wisdom, but they also recognize if they're terminally ill and they're really at the end of their life, the cancer treatment didn't work. For instance, just take that scenario, stage 4 cancer. They've been through the treatment and the radiation. It didn't work, and their cancer is worse. So at that point, is very different than someone who just had maybe a heart attack and his diabetes and is on the road to recovery. So they're two different scenarios. But the first scenario, the cancer patient, sometimes it's the better part of wisdom if they pray for wisdom to at that point accept where they're at and choose hospice care and maybe not fight. Now they can fight to stay alive and live day with hope and try to do things, but not to fight to say, you know what, I don't care. Give me more chemo. Give me more radiation. Put me in the ICU. I don't care. If I die, I'm going to die trying. So I don't think that kind of fight is necessarily healthy or the best thing. Now, but in general, people who have significant medical problems, if they have a good, positive mental attitude, and I would say also if they are a person of spiritual faith, and it doesn't matter if it's Hindu or Buddha or whatever, if they do have a good spiritual faith, it's been proven in medical studies that does help improve their quality of life. So,
Yeah.
from personally, that would be saying if you follow your Christian faith, then that would improve your health.
Well, let's move. Let's look at the other side of the coin for that for a second.
All right.
Let's go to empiricism and non secular completely thinking here for just a second. Okay. And again, I hate to sound. I don't mean to sound facetious or being a smart, you know what, but I think this is something that we need to remind ourselves. Doc, let me ask you a question. If I'm not mistaken, we all die, right?
100%
We cannot escape
prognosis of death.
We're gonna die.
The prognosis is death.
So the question is just when we're gonna die, right? On that. And
Right.
and so this if we live in some and and again we're getting into philosophical things here, but I can tell you one thing: if somebody told me today, Joe, you have 2 years of life left, approximately 2 years of life left, or anything like that, I sure as heck, one thing I'm not going to, I'd be devastated and sad and all that things like that, but I sure as heck am not going to waste my 2 years of life being sad about having 2 years left of life, I'm gonna grab forward and grab that with every bit of gusto I can to the last minute.
Bucket list.
Because and of course again, here's another one. Here's that about to be facetious, but are we? Am I? Once I die, is it really gonna? My problems are over. I'm gonna go to heaven, and I'm gonna be with my Lord and my family and stuff. I think more than anything else, we a lot of us we're more concerned about those that we leave here and the concern there. But
right, you want them to have peace. Along with you.
Yeah, and it's tough. Dr. Clark knows that in my own family, I will tell you this though, is that I think death is like it's like anything else. Look, moving away from death. How many times everybody out there that's listening right now, how many times have you said to yourself, wow, if somebody said to me a year ago that I was going to be doing what I'm doing right now, I would have said, you're insane. You're insane. I would never do that a year now. So the same thing goes. I've had two members of my family, my father and my brother-in-law, that both of them, my father died very quickly at 55, and my brother-in-law, who was the one, he was, what was he, Pat, 60, 63, 64? 63, I think. And he died, 2 years ago? So we know that. That was 1950.
Mr. Dale.
Yeah. No, he was born. No, he was born then because he was born in 1950.
Yeah.
So he was 50 in 2000.
60,
He was 65.
65 or
65.
66.
Yeah. On that, but this is a guy that was the one everyone in our family said will be Methuselah. Never.
He didn't have cardiovascular disease.
No cardiovascular. Never went to the gym, played basketball. Never in his life drank alcohol. Never smoked. Never was not the big giant fat eater. Walked, liked to exercise, like that. Did not have a family genetic history of what he died of, and he died of a rare form of
progressive form of Parkinsonism.
that.
He had autonomic failure. His nervous system basically slowly stopped working for the man, and it was very difficult to watch. If it got to where he became bedridden and started getting infections, and then eventually needed to be on the ventilator.
This is one of the guys that I during his entire illness, I kept expecting a call the next day saying, "Well, yeah, he's a lot better. Yeah, he'll be out on Friday." That I just still to this day, when I had my heart attack, or not my open heart surgery, I remember looking in the recovery room next to me, and here lies this guy, and I go, "Wow, he looks like a soldier." And I look over and we're chatting for a minute, and he says, "Well, and here I'm 50 something, and he's 35, and he's an instructor out at the Ranger Training Brigade. He's a ranger, and Army Ranger. This guy probably could run 50 miles and without breaking a sweat. Was, if you looked up physically conditioned in the dictionary, his picture was there. And I said, so what are you here for, open heart surgery? And I said, smoker? No. Some kind of other abuse? No. Congenital? No. On that, they just said I had a family hereditary disposition to heart attack. And man, I couldn't believe it. I was out there one day going, hey, hoo-ah, and I fell over, and that we just saw in the paper. I just have to, you would think that you would because of being a rock and roller, but one of my favorite rock musicians, Tom Petty, died on Monday night, and 66 years old. And if you knew, I knew a lot about Tom Petty. Tom Petty was not a drinker, was not a partier, was not a drug user, didn't have a high propensity to that, and was at a concert. And he was a good-looking 66-year-old guy that was in pretty darn good condition. He was actually at a concert and went down, not feeling well day. Went home, got a shower, got dinner, lied down, and later that evening, one of the family came out there and found him lying unresponsive. He was in cardiac arrest. They could not, I guess he had no brain activity. He had a living will, and he died peacefully about 8:30 that night with his family around his bed. And people said, like, wow, how did that happen?
Well, so two things, and they're great case. Both are great cases. We could talk a lot about. The first guy, the young guy, if he knew he had a family history of it. Now he was still early at age 35. But he should, if you're, like in your situation, if your father or mother died of a heart attack, whether they were in their 40s, then you need to be started looking at when you're in your 30s for your cholesterol and your risk factors. Now, had that guy not been the picture of good fitness, if he was a smoker, if he did not have a good diet, if he was not active, he might have had a heart attack 5 years before that. So it's not like, well, what's the point of doing everything? You're going to have a heart attack anyway. The important thing is to know that he probably saved himself a lot. And then the fact when he did have his heart attack, the fact that he was in good shape will help him make a more complete recovery. So there's always good. Now, the second one, Tom Petty, now him we'd have to see. If he didn't have coronary disease in the family, there are other things. Your heart can go into arrhythmias. And he could have just went into an abnormal arrhythmia, and his heart, fluttered, and he dropped, like a sudden cardiac death. You don't necessarily need to have like this long coronary artery disease kind of building up over years and years and years, and then all of a sudden it hits you. So on him, it might be, if he has sons, if he has children, it might be worthwhile for them to do an autopsy to find out so they could be tested for things.
Also, too, I'm going to recommend something that is just... It almost gets me emotional talking about that. If you're going through any of this, if you've had a heart attack, or you've had heart surgery, or have a family member, or you're concerned or something like that, obviously we talk about see your doctor's report. But if you're going through this, I went on the internet and you know what I did? I literally typed in. I typed in this phrase. I put. And I've been doing it for about 3 years now. When I first had my accident 2 years ago, I was 54. But I'm a 54-year-old man. I'm overweight. And I just had a triple bypass. I'm scared and don't know what's going to happen. That's what I put. I literally put that line in there, and I was overwhelmed at the number of blogs and support groups that are out there. They're live online, where I was able to go on and have other people say, hey, I'm 55 too, or I'm 54 too. I had the same thing happen, and this is what happened to me. What do you think? Have you been on this? Have you been on that? Have you experienced this? Are you afraid of that? Do you get scared about this? What did your doc say? Did you say this? And just talking, via the internet to other people that are going through it. Is such, I have right now, I have to get checked for it because I have a relatively low heart injection rate, which is basically how your heart pumps the blood. on that, and just going on and talking to other people that said, "Hey, I had a low injection rate, and I went and saw my doc, and I got on some new medicine, and I started doing some exercises, and started doing this, that, and the other thing, and it got better." And again, I just I know there's a lot of people there. So let's just go into this for a second. What for those people out there listening right now? I don't care how much you are. What are some typical things you should start? We know about hereditary. That's huge, right? Isn't that huge?
Yes.
That you have
genetic predisposition.
Genetic predisposition. Mom, dad, cousins, sisters, brother. My wife Patricia over there, her sister, her only sibling, died of breast cancer. My wife had breast cancer. My wife also has kidney cancer now. It's a very we have to be very cognizant of that. But let me ask you, besides the genetic stuff, what are some things some warning signs that people should, maybe early warning signs?
So a couple of things real quick. You mentioned ejection fraction. Let's just make sure people understand. They do it. Your heart is a 4-chambered pump. The 2 lower chambers are the main pumps. The left pump is the main pump that pumps blood from your heart up your chest into your brain and your arms and the rest of your body to your aorta. When you do an ultrasound of the heart, we're looking at how well your left ventricle or that pump is working. And it's a simple ultrasound, just like when you see the baby, when mom's pregnant, she has a baby, do an ultrasound. They look at the heart chamber. And they can tell by the way it's squeezing what percentage of the blood is emptying out. So if the muscle is strong, a good pump, it's not 100%, is not the best. 60 to 70% is the best it can be. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But if it's pumping at 60 to 70%, that's normal. If it starts going to 40 to 50%, that sometimes gives us concern. Well, why is it not 60 to 70%? And we have to look for things, and then we'll start asking about signs and symptoms. If it gets to 30%, we get very concerned, and below 30% can be life-threatening, but still managed and treated. So that's what we're talking about, getting an ultrasound of your heart, which is an echocardiogram, and telling the ejection fraction. That being said, we're looking for mostly the simple things. Short of breath. How far can you walk before you get a short of breath? How many steps can you walk up before you get short of breath? Do you feel palpitations in your chest? Do you
I can tell you a couple of mine. Get dizzy.
Dizziness or lightheadedness. That could be one. But mostly symptoms of fatigue, shortness of breath, and of course chest pain or chest pressure. That's the main things that we're looking for as far as symptoms. As far as other signs or diseases, if you have diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol, those are 3 huge risk factors.
By the way, it's not, this little FYI, I'm going to tell you because they don't tell you this. If you go and have a echocardiogram, that's what it's called.
Yes, sir.
On that, and especially if you're a little fat guy like I am on that, when the technician, it looks like a little, almost, in the cops we call it a Kubiton. It's a little metal, it looks like a little metal microphone or something like that. They have to, especially if you have a lot of fat, they press very hard. It's not painful, but typically when they do it the next day, you're going to wake up. So I like to warn people. So you're going to wake up the next day and go, I think I'm having heart issues because I'm having pain across here. And then also you go, wait a minute, it's across here, and across here, and it's because of that darn little thing because they literally push so hard on there on the bone and stuff like that.
And it can be dependent. If they don't push hard enough, sometimes they might not get it. The information is accurate.
And also too, please, and I from my heart, I ask her. That's no pun intended there.
From my heart,
I ask everybody too. Your doc is a human being, and the nurses there, they're human beings, and because they're human beings, they're around this all the time. This is they see it come, and because of them, their humanness. Okay, it's not that they don't care. It's not that they don't. So you know what? A lot of times, you ask them questions, but they're good people. they may not think to say, oh, by the way, you might, blah, 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 blah. And that you need to say to yourself, don't be afraid of your doctor. Because I tell you what, I've been afraid of my doctor before. I think that helps tell that people, because I think people want to. And what I mean by afraid of my doctor, I've been afraid of what they're. I've been saying I don't want to. We can all live in denial, and maybe if I go no, and I don't hear that, but that is such the wrong thing, because these are healers. These are people that can help you, and these are people that care. And you know what? I hate to sound sophomore, but no question is a stupid question.
Right, and they don't know what you want to know. Some people really don't want to know. They might say, just tell me I'm doing all right, or if I have to do anything different. Your ejection fraction might be a little bit low, but you're feeling fine and your symptoms are under control. Some patients might not want to know. Other patients might have went, well, what is it, doc? Was it what percentage is it now? What was it before? What percentage am I going for? Some people want to know that. Your doctor can't read your mind on that, so you've got to tell them, hey, I'd like to keep track of my ejection fraction.
And doctors are human beings. They have different personalities, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love the gal that took my echocardiogram.
Mm-hmm.
I was impressed. I am. I'm not trying to sound egotistical or something on this, but or narcissistic, but I am actually been to the FBI Academy. I'm trained. I was a law enforcement officer in facial recognition of body language, of subliminal things. They might say of interpreting and profiling people. And this gal that did mine recently was good, because she had this stoic look on her face. I tried to watch her eyes. I tried to watch her.
We had an interruption.
Okay.
And I'm going back on right now.
Okay. Well, we're still on YouTube, so we'll stay on that right now.
Okay.
And I'll put that. But she was good. She was really good, because
she probably well trained.
And I actually looked at her and I said, you're very well trained. And she said, why? You said, I said, because I said I'm very well trained and actually a professional at interpreting body language. And I said, and I am absolutely unable to read you. And she said, yes, I am.
Because imagine this. Imagine if she stopped in the middle of it, and imagine she got a perplexing look on her face.
Yes.
And then stopped what she was doing and said, I need to go get the doctor, and walks out of the room. Now imagine what's going through that person's mind. It might have been something like a doctor. She might think there's something wrong with the probe or something.
Yeah.
But imagine what the patient's going to think. Like, oh my goodness,
if I'm
dying.
If I'm lying there and she's going around like that, and she goes like, oh my God. I'm going like, well, why did you just say that?
Yeah, you only have to do that once and they'll get berated by their doctors.
I got to tell you, because I like to bring a little bit of humor and stuff to keep people that we're all humans together in this. One time I was in a car wreck, and I was pretty badly injured. I had taken which is very bad. I took a blow to my abdomen, which can be fatal very quickly. And I literally tried to get out of the car and fell over. And I'm laying there in the.
Was it your spleen?
No, luckily I was not. It was. I was very fortunate. Matter of fact, I was in ICU for them to look to see if I was bleeding, and I was not. Yeah. But the very young paramedic that came, the EMT, he bless his heart. I think I was the second person he'd ever had. And it was so funny, because I was lying there, and I don't think he thought I was conscious. And he looked over, and I was kind of groggily and told him things were happening. He was looking me over, and he said, okay. And then somebody came up behind him, and I heard him say, like, what's he doing? And he reached over, and he didn't think I could hear him, but he went, he's really bad. We need to get him there ASAP. Like that. And I went, I heard you say that. And he went, I'll never forget it. Bless his heart. He went, oh, I didn't mean you. There's another guy that we over there. And I said, it's okay. Yeah. And he said, I wasn't supposed to say that. You were supposed to hear that. And I said, it's okay.
Yeah, there are kind of things like professionalism.
But he was very young. And bless his heart, I could just tell he was, I said, don't worry. This is for you. And I said, you just need to not be real close to the patient when you tell them you're doing really bad. And he goes, they told us that in school and I forgot, because I thought I was far away enough for, but that's what's funny, because I even try to use a little and I'm good because I'm a mediator and I'm very good at court. And I tried to even throw in some little questions there where I could get an answer without asking a question, kind of thing. And she was ready for it, you know. And I did get a kick out of it because I came out there and I said, I had to say, I said, you are good. I said because you know what? I don't know if I have flying colors and a heart that as strong as an ox, or if I'm going to die tomorrow.
So when do you find out about your echocardiogram?
I find out about my echocardiogram in 34 minutes. So
today is your appointment.
Yeah, so we got about 5-10 more minutes, and then I'm going to shut down.
So the whole heart failure discussion, applies to you.
Yes, and hey, and of course, okay, this is called. Let's have what's called real quick. I like everybody to have fun a minute. Let's call truth or lie. Okay, here's the lie. Okay, watch. And since I knew that I had that today, I have been not worried about it, and I know that it was going to come out good, and that there's going to be an extra opinion that's given to me, and I'll do whatever I need to do. All right, now let's go to page 2. Here's truth. I haven't slept all night last night. I've been thinking about this for 3 days, and so what I'm trying to tell you is, you know, it's okay. No, it's okay. It's okay to do that, and you know what? I'm a psychologist, and the worst patient to a psychologist is a psychologist, because you want to hear something bad. Is try what we psychologists do is we diagnose ourselves, and it's just
in healthcare in general.
We sit there and we'll sit there and I'll talk to myself and I'll say, "Now, Joe, you're being irrational," and you know. And I'll come back and I'll say, "No, I'm not," because blah blah blah, and I'll say, well, "Aren't you trying to give me a denial on that?" And I'll say, "No, I'm not. I'm not in denial." What is that? It sounds like you're denying that right now, that you're in denial. And then you're going, what? I can't. But I have a good team, and I have faith. I've got a wonderful wife and stuff like that, and I know I'm gonna come back and you know and I'll tell you what, whatever I have, I had a talk with a talk with the man upstairs, and I don't mean the man above me, I mean the big man up there. And it was kind of funny what I got back that he told me. He said, "Are you kidding?" He says, "I'm not worried about you, but I've got you doing about 45 things, and I need to keep you there." And so,
you know what I encourage people to do, though, when they go to these doctor's appointments, especially if they're nervous going into it, bring an index card and a pen, or just something to write on, because it's already proven you forget a significant percentage, like at least 50% of what the doctor tells you when you're there, you forget.
That's the one thing I can say that I won't do.
Yeah, you won't. But in general, I think it's a good idea for people that I do 45% or 55%, and someone will turn. So I encourage people to take some notes, and if they're saying, you know what, everything's okay, but I'm going to send you to this doctor. Well, then write it down. I encourage people to write things down when you're in a doctor's office. It's a very acceptable thing to do for you to remember things, because there's nothing worse than leaving a doctor's office and going that night and forgetting what he said, and then you're not going to be able to reach him the next day.
And Doc, I think I'm accurately speaking. I'm trying to speak for you, but I know you well enough to say this. And my father was in the medical field, and my son is in the medical field, and that all good doctors have no problem at all and encourage you to get second opinions. I mean, they never, no, if you don't believe me, then go to HE toothpicks. They don't do that.
Yeah.
And if that's what you need, go to 2, go to 3. Because I can tell you this, I've had that. I've had that situation, and that's not denial. That's just simply getting as much information. Utilize the internet. The internet is a double-edged sword. There's a lot of things that are not good on it, but there's a lot of good help lines. What is it? Medical MD.
WebMD is good.
WebMD.
The National Cancer Institute is a good place to get all your cancer statistics. American Heart Association, American Diabetes Association,
and
all good.
And reach out out there, and I'll tell you, because there's I do remember, and we got just a couple minutes and then we'll close. When I was lying in bed, a few hours away from having open heart surgery, I had great doctors. I talked to my doctors. I talked to my priest. I talked to my friends, pastors. all kind of people, and it did a lot. It helped a lot. But you know what? I had one person that came in and who I barely knew, and I see this person that came in and she shut the door, and she was about my age, and she came in and she said, I'm here to have a talk with you. And I said, I want to back. And she took her shirt and went like that, and I saw the top of the scar for open heart surgery. And she said, mine was last year. I bet you have some questions. And it was a godsend of me saying, I had 100 questions that only another person that had been through that could answer.
Right.
And she answered a lot for me. She told me stuff that saved me a lot of grief, because she told me, she said, now when you wake up, you're going to feel like this thing is moving around here, like they didn't like clamp it down very good, but that's normal. You're going to have this, it's going to be normal. You're going to have that, that's okay. You're going to do this, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so like that, and that helped a lot. So, seek that out. But, I guess this is something we need to probably talk about more of. I do want to say that I'm very, very pleased that Mr. Moore won the election in Alabama. He's going to be running against the Democrat. Mr. Moore is a diehard supporter of pro-life, and I'm glad to see that. He's also the individual who I'm sure everybody was very aware of a few years ago in Alabama when they were demanding to take the Ten Commandments down from the courthouses. That he said no. He was a judge, and he said no, and he got into a lot of hassle for that. But we're seeing a lot of that around America, and I'm glad. We certainly want to pray for all of the people in Las Vegas and that have been all over the world that have been affected by this horrific tragedy. And we want to pray for our president right now, who is going through whatever your opinion of our president is. He is our president. He is our leader. And we want to pray for him. And
to have wisdom.
To have wisdom and to move forward. And for Dr. Clark and all the healers out there that do so much to keep us safe and help us during those times. I hope everybody has a great day, and we will see you again next Wednesday for the Medical Hour here on the Range Joe's Medical Show. We are this close. You see that? This close to establishing a new actual radio. We'll have an actual radio channel that will go out on radio that we're going to be doing from right here. And I foresee that happening within the next 3 to 4 weeks on that. So
good news.
I don't know, what the station is or on that, but that is good news, and we're very excited about that. So God bless you. God bless America. God bless all of our firefighters, our EMTs, our law enforcement officers, and our soldiers. Please pray for our soldiers in Afghanistan who are at war right now. We forget that every day, that we are still at war, and pray for them. And thank you, Miss Pat, and thank you, Dr. Clark. And Miss Pat, if you will take us out, we will see you again next week. Are we out?
Out.
All right. That was good. That was nice. That flowed nice today, I thought.